Welcome back to Beyond the Ages. Today, we're stepping into one of history's darkest minds, a figure whose name became legend, myth, horror, and psychological warfare perfected. They say the screams could be heard for miles. Summer, 1462. You're an Ottoman soldier in the most powerful army on earth. You've conquered Constantinople, you've toppled empires, and now you're marching into a small principality called Wallachia to crush a rebellious prince. It should take weeks, maybe days. Then you smell it. Not smoke, not fire, something far worse. Your column slows, scouts stop moving, officers fall silent. And as your unit crests the hill near the capital, you see something that should not exist. A forest. But the trees aren't trees. They're human beings. Thousands of them lifted high on wooden stakes, arranged in perfect geometric rows, stretching to the horizon. Some bodies have turned black in the sun, swollen from weeks of decay. Others are fresh. Some still move, still breathe, still scream. And your sultan, the man who broke the Byzantine Empire, looks once, says nothing, and orders the entire army to turn around. Because this is not war. This is a mind weaponizing suffering. This is the world of Vlad the Impaler. And today, you're going to understand why the real horror was never what he did to bodies. It was what he understood about the human mind. The story begins long before the Forest of the Impaled. Vlad is 11 years old. His father, Vlad II Dracul, has just struck a deal with the most powerful force in the region, Sultan Murad II of the Ottoman Empire. The terms are simple. Vlad II keeps his throne. In return, he hands over his two youngest sons, Vlad and Radu, as hostages. Not prisoners chained in dungeons, but guests, living collateral. At Edirne and later in Anatolia, the boys wear fine clothes, study languages, philosophy, theology, military science. They're educated like Ottoman elites. But here's the truth the history books gloss over. This wasn't education. This was conditioning. Vlad spent his formative years watching his captors build an empire through cold, intentional fear. He watched public executions, engineered not for punishment, but for psychological impact. He learned that terror, when precise, was more powerful than any army. And he learned something else, something that would define the rest of his life. He was powerless. Radu adapted quickly, charming the Ottoman court and befriending Prince Mehmed, the future conqueror of Constantinople. Vlad did not. Ottoman records describe him as defiant, angry, resistant, punished repeatedly. Some say he was beaten, some say worse. But whatever happened, it left something inside him permanently altered. Not shattered, sharpened. He developed an obsessive belief that the world was hostile, that betrayal was inevitable, and that control was the only path to survival. He took every humiliation and turned it into a lesson. Every punishment became a study. Every cruelty became a blueprint. He was building an arsenal, but not of weapons, of methods. After 6 years in captivity, Vlad returned to Wallachia at age 17. 2 months later, his father was assassinated by political rivals. His older brother was buried alive. Vlad was alone, surrounded by enemies, backed by no one. For 6 years, he waited, planned, studied power, loyalty, and fear. Then, in 1456, with Hungarian support, he seized the Wallachian throne. The transformation began immediately. His coronation feast, meant to be a celebration, became a purge. Hundreds of boyar nobles arrived, dressed in their finest robes, expecting a traditional pledge of loyalty. Instead, Vlad asked them a single question. How many princes have you outlived? Some said 7, some said 10, some boasted they'd survived a dozen rulers. Vlad smiled. The doors closed. The older nobles were executed, impaled outside the palace walls as slowly as possible, a message written in agony. The younger, stronger nobles were force-marched 50 miles to rebuild Poenari Castle with their bare hands. Many died hauling stones. Those who survived never forgot who owned their lives. Vlad had dismantled Wallachia's power structure, replaced the nobility with people who feared him more than they feared death. He wasn't just exacting revenge, he was engineering obedience. A delegation arrives from Sultan Mehmed II, once Vlad's childhood companion. They demand unpaid tribute, and they expect Vlad to renew his oath in person. When they refuse to remove their turbans, a genuine religious custom, Vlad listens to their explanation. Then he delivers the line that freezes the hall. I respect a man who honors his faith so completely. Let me help you honor it forever. His guards nail their turbans to their skulls. He doesn't kill them. He sends them home alive, walking warnings. Mehmed understands immediately this is not the boy he grew up with. This is someone who has taken Ottoman techniques and refined them beyond imagination. War is now inevitable. Most people misunderstand impalement. It wasn't random brutality, and it wasn't meant to kill quickly. It was psychological warfare. Victims were positioned to avoid major organs, prolonging survival for hours or days. Rows of stakes formed circles, grids, and star patterns visible from hillsides. Rank dictated the height of the stake. This wasn't just execution. It was a message. I control everything. Your fear, your suffering, your stories. Pamphlets spread across Europe, the first mass-produced horror media in history, depicting Vlad dining among the dying. Studied power, loyalty, and fear. Then, in 1456, with Hungarian support, he seized the Wallachian throne. The transformation began immediately. His coronation feast, meant to be a celebration, became a purge. Hundreds of boyar nobles arrived, dressed in their finest robes, expecting a traditional pledge of loyalty. Instead, Vlad asked them a single question. How many princes have you outlived? Some said 7, some said 10, some boasted they'd survived a dozen rulers. Vlad smiled. The doors closed. The older nobles were executed, impaled outside the palace walls as slowly as possible. A message written in agony. The younger, stronger nobles were force-marched 50 miles to rebuild Poenari Castle with their bare hands. Many died hauling stones. Propaganda? Maybe. But effective. To the world, Vlad became a demon. To Vlad, this was strategy. By 1462, Mehmed has had enough. He assembles one of the largest armies in Ottoman history, 60,000 to 90,000 men, and marches toward Wallachia. Vlad has maybe 25,000. He cannot win a real battle, so he refuses to fight one. Villages are emptied, fields burned, wells poisoned, supplies vanish into forests. Night raids terrorize the Ottoman camps. Then comes June 17th, the night attack. Dressed in Ottoman uniforms, speaking Turkish, Vlad's men infiltrate the imperial camp with one goal: kill the Sultan. Chaos explodes across the battlefield. Fires, stampedes, close-quarter combat. Vlad gets close. Some say he and Mehmed saw each other through the smoke. But the Janissaries hold the line. The attack fails to kill the Sultan, but succeeds at something far more powerful. It breaks the army's confidence. When the Ottomans approach Targovishte, they encounter it. A field 2 miles long, thousands of bodies. Some dead for weeks, some freshly executed, some still alive. Arranged with geometric precision. Even hardened Ottoman veterans begin vomiting. Some refuse to advance. Desertion spreads. At the center stands Hamza Pasha, an Ottoman commander captured earlier, elevated above the others, the peak of Vlad's grotesque hierarchy. Mehmed studies the field in silence. Chroniclers record him saying, "It is not possible to defeat a man capable of such deeds." Within days, he orders a retreat. Vlad the Impaler, outnumbered 3-1, has turned back the single greatest military machine of the age, not with strength, with psychology. But terror works both ways. By late 1462, Vlad's paranoia spirals. He impales merchants, villagers, anyone he suspects of betrayal. Hungarian support evaporates. His brother Radu arrives as an Ottoman-backed alternative. Vlad flees, only to be imprisoned by King Matthias Corvinus for 12 years. Ironically, he lives comfortably, marries, has children. Then, in 1476, he regains the throne for 2 months. He dies in battle, killed by Ottomans or his own men, depending on the source. His head is sent to Constantinople, preserved in honey, displayed as proof of victory. Never found. Today, Romania remembers him as a defender of independence. Europe remembers him as a monster. Pop culture turned him into Dracula. But all of these narratives miss the point. The real horror is this: everything Vlad did was human. He wasn't a supernatural beast. He wasn't a mythic vampire. He was a boy shaped by trauma, humiliation, and political brutality. And he learned that fear could accomplish what armies could not. He turned terror into strategy, pain into politics, cruelty into order. And it worked. That's the part we don't like to admit. Because if it worked then, what does that say about us? And what other horrors, calculated, engineered, rational, lie buried in the shadows of history? If you want to keep uncovering the darkest chapters that shaped our world, you're in the right place. This is Beyond the Ages. Propaganda? Maybe, but effective. To the world, Vlad became a demon. To Vlad, this was strategy. By 1462, Mehmed has had enough. He assembles one of the largest armies in Ottoman history, 60,000 to 90,000 men, and marches toward Wallachia. Vlad has maybe 25,000. He cannot win a real battle, So he refuses to fight one. Villages are emptied, fields burned, wells poisoned, supplies vanish into forests. Night raids terrorize the Ottoman camps. Then comes June 17th, the night attack. Dressed in Ottoman uniforms, speaking Turkish, Vlad's men infiltrate the imperial camp with one goal: kill the Sultan. Chaos explodes across the battlefield, fires, stampedes, close-quarter combat. Vlad gets close.